with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. We are looking at a Tuesday 5-game main slate. Sir Grande, how are we doing today, man?
We're doing. Happy Tuesday to all, and to all a good night. So I live in South Carolina, obviously, and it's going to snow this evening, which doesn't happen ever in where I live. So within the next hour, actually, let's see. My son, who's almost 5, has never seen snow. And so he's very excited and freaking out, has been freaking out for multiple hours saying, we're minutes away. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Minutes are different than hours. Slated to start at 6 p.m. Just looked out the window, no snow yet. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that where I am, it's going to snow. Being from New York, obviously, I have dealt with snow my whole life. Not in South Carolina, though, since I moved down here. So interesting for that to happen, but my son's excited about it.
Yeah, listen, obviously I live in Massachusetts. We had about 6 or so inches yesterday of snow, so had to get the shovel out before we settled down at the desk for the day to get what was going on. I've been very fortunate. We've kind of been very fortunate to have a very mild winter around here the last couple of years, where I was like golfing in January and February because the golf courses in Massachusetts don't close until snow's on the ground. Played some winter golf where we're basically playing on cement with how hard the ground was, but there was no snow, so it's good to go. Can't do that now. We're looking at like teens and cold weather and wind. It's been miserable, but we're not here necessarily always to talk about the weather change.
That'd be fun to golf in.
Yes, furthest drives I've ever hit because the ball didn't stop moving. But when you go to putt, also, it doesn't slow. You're just putting on hard ground.
Sure.
So, we got 5 games to talk about. We appreciate you all in the chat here. Coach Chris popping in saying, "Let's go." JM Real number one in the comment section here. David saying, "What's up?" Justin saying, "What's up?" Coach Chris in North Carolina. JM looking for the 100K on DraftKings. We'll chase that down with you. Jordan popping in here. Joker should have a big game with Aiden Bona. Yeah, we'll talk about that matchup for the 76ers here tonight for sure. Your top price plays overall today. Jokic is 12-2. We got 80 at 10-3, and that's about it. We got guys on in the 9K range. So short slate pricing for us today, Grande. Maxey is your top priced point guard for today. Did we get Paul George updates at all? Just still questionable.
Yep.
For
There's
today.
been not a lot of news today.
Yeah, not a lot of news breaking today. We'll see what happens with that there. But we got Maxey here at $9,900. Jalen Brunson at $9K. Towns obviously played yesterday. We'll see, assuming they go through.
They're probable.
Yeah, probable for today. I imagine they're good to go. We did get the Hero midday downgrade today.
Yeah, he's yet to miss a game, but it's a groin, so that's a little.
So we'll see. We'll see
The only thing that's happened is a Hero and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons downgrade, D'Lo upgrade, Hero downgrade.
Yeah. So we have sort of those news to kind of go through. But again, Hero 8,300. We'll see what happens if he gets ruled out. We've talked. We talked the rotation they put out on the floor yesterday, last night with like Khalil Ware and things like that. If Hero ends up being ruled out, we'll see what they end up doing in that situation. And then Reeves at $8,000. Talk to me about point guard. Are you feeling as good about it as Ricky is? He says he loves this slate. He's feeling good about it.
It's a slate that has 5 games.
Yep.
Look at it this way, right? You look at these 5 games. Would you put if you were directing a television station, John, would you put any of them on your television station tonight?
I would watch.
No, that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. I asked if you were running a television station, would you put any of them on your station?
Or Philly, Denver.
Nah, you're crazy.
Why would I be crazy?
No Embiid, possibly no Paul George. We just heard that Adam Bona Adembona is going to be possibly
Yeah, but you
starting
get
at
to
center.
watch greatness in Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, for 2.5 quarters.
And Max is really good. Maybe.
Well, nobody would watch your stupid TV anyway. I think Maxey is definitely definitely a solid spend up. The scoring isn't going anywhere. It's just like, will we get the peripheral stats? Like, he obviously had that one random game where he just didn't do anything. Still scored 28 actual against Indiana, but had 4 rebounds and assists. Every other game's been like 9+ in that column. I think there's still a ceiling. Obviously, when you play 40+ minutes in games, like, that is possible. You don't come off the floor. So yeah, I think Maxey's definitely fine. Brunson was really good yesterday. 39 minutes. We're getting max Brunson minutes lately.
Yeah.
This is obviously just as good a spot as it can get. Does it stay competitive enough to where you get full run out of Brunson? Second leg of a back-to-back. No Ben Simmons, Zaire Williams on the other side.
Yeah.
We know Brunson's going to get his offensively. It's when he starts getting his teammates involved is when the ceiling comes to the forefront. So I'm good with Brunson. So I like both 9K guards, but I think both are fine. They're both would I play them? Yes. Am I prioritizing them? Not necessarily.
That's fair. Scoot's obviously sort of I think the priority in this mid-range. He's $6,900. Simons is questionable still. They moved him into the starting lineup. They moved Sharp to the bench. It seems like all things are going to be looking good for Scoot Henderson tonight. Gets this matchup against Miami. Not a great defensive team really as it is. What are your thoughts on Scoot? And do you take a look at any of these other mid-tier guys? Given some of the injury news that's kind of popped up.
Yeah, I've kind of backed away from Scoot until we know the Simons news. Fortunately, we will know. Not to say his numbers aren't fine without Anthony Simons, but the usage rate is clearly different without Simons. The minute ceiling is clearly different. Portland 105 implied points is one of the lowest on the board. So I'm actually not as high as I was, but that could change obviously if Anthony Simons sits. If Anthony Simons sits, then it's all systems go. But if Simons plays, I don't know if I'm gonna necessarily get there, but I guess we'll see. I like Jordan Poole quite a bit in tournaments. I think Jordan Poole has a very high ceiling against the Lakers today. Obviously, also has a very low floor, but already ruled out Malcolm Brogdon, obviously. And you know what? We've kind of crapped on the Jordan Poole minutes this year, but in the competitive games lately, he has been playing as long as he's been able to stay out of foul trouble. He has been playing a lot of minutes. So I like the price coming down on Jordan Poole. We're just 2 games removed from him absolutely nuking. It's something we've talked about. He has shot the ball extremely well this year. He is more than capable of an 8 for 15 against the Lakers with how bad they've been defensively. So I would say of this mid-tier, Jordan Poole is probably the guy that stands out the most. Obviously, watch what happens with Orlando. The Cole Anthony midday downgrade with the illness. Him and Jonathan Isaac, both illness related stuff, is obviously a little bit of a concern. No read on whether they play or not. Because we've seen now a couple times this week where players have been midday downgrades and then been actually we're good to go. The illness wasn't as bad as it was this morning or something, but there is a voodoo doll over the Magic that just causes the worst pain imaginable for them. So, it's not good when someone pops up on the injury report for Orlando. So, obviously keep an eye on that. But if he plays, I would have a ton of interest in some Cole Anthony, just given that's one of the best spots on the board. And I know it's the game environment isn't the best, but when you talk about just competitive games, John, we have 5 games on this slate. 4 of them have 10+ point spreads. And that I don't love blowouts. This game, or love predicting blowouts. This game has 1.5 point spread with one team really bad defensively and the other team struggling defensively. So if Anthony does suit up, we'll obviously know before lock. I have a lot of interest because the usage rate hasn't gone away with
right.
Paolo.
You work your way down. How are you approaching Brooklyn with the Ben Simmons news?
I love D'Lo. Love it. Love D'Lo. I get it. It could be brutal. It could be absolutely brutal. But like you just look at, again, like over fantasy point per minute last game, when you take all the players out or have been traded, D'Angelo Russell this year, 20 with Brooklyn, 28% usage, 1.56 fantasy points per minute. That is elite stuff. So, taking a shot, there's 4 blowout potentials. You got to take a shot somewhere. You can't just like pick and choose where like you think is going to be like every game is potentially blowout. So I am under the impression that Brooklyn can hang a little bit here at home, enough to where D'Lo and his 28% usage and 1.6 fantasy points per minute can flourish.
Yep, I agree with you. Obviously, big upside for him given the situation and the price. If Hero gets ruled out, we saw that Terry Rozier, someone that we know has a high offensive ceiling, could be him at $4,800. Black, you mentioned if there is no Cole Anthony, could be someone that ends up already playing a lot of minutes and sees more shot attempts. When we go into the value tier, is there a clear pick for you?
I don't know if this is like bold, but I would, if Hero and Cole Anthony are ruled out, I'd prefer Anthony Black. Terry Rozier, last game aside, obviously he had a good game. Okay, congrats. He has like not been good this year. And even when you want to factor in like, well, Tyler Hero's out. Well, he's not. But if he was, the usage rate's good, 25%, solid. 0.8 fantasy points per minute this year for Terry Rozier. That is not good now, like, I'm not saying that's terrible, but that's not the Terry Rozier we've seen in years past. And is that system related? Is that like, there's a lot of things factoring into that. It has been a weird, uncomfortable fit for Terry Rozier, like since the acquisition. And you were more on that where I was like, oh no, it's going to be great. And you're like, no, it's not. And it just hasn't worked.
My only takeaway on this spot is if Hero takes so many shots, and when we look at sample sizes of like him off the floor with Hero not on the floor, those are for fragments of games, so there's not a chance for them to like get in rhythm or build a plan. If Rozier starts and no Hero and he's going to play 35 minutes tonight, I think there's a good chance that he kind of takes more like the 14 to 16 shots than we get when he's playing in limited spurts with, Tyler Hero not on the floor. I think that changes a little bit. So I would still be, and I think the ownership would go to him too, just because of the matchup of Portland. You'd see a lot of people probably interested in Rozier. The Black is obviously the more competitive game, as you were mentioning, against Toronto. We've seen him bring defensive stats to the table, which helps raise the fantasy ceiling. So I'm not even really arguing. I think I'd probably just end up getting to both potentially, and and kind of going in that direction here. Anybody else for you, Edgard?
240-minute sample, by the way, without Tyler Hero this year. So it's a decently sized sample. I also think they have other book creators. I don't disagree. Like, he's 25% usage rate, going to be on the floor a lot. Closed last game. I don't think there's anything else unless we get something more definitive in terms of
shooting guard brings us a lot of the same names. We are waiting on Paul George. Obviously, if Paul George plays, that's better for this matchup against Denver because it just gives them another legit option for us. If Paul George ends up being ruled out, then we're forced to pay up for the pay down values we had before, right? Like Ricky Council is more expensive than he was previously, but we would have to pay for him because he's going to start and play all those minutes. Edwards, sort of the same deal, more expensive, but going to play minutes. So we kind of hope Paul George plays here just because at $8,100, he's paid that off. You've been 100% right on that call there. But then it's a small slate. We kind of have hit on a lot of these names. Kelly Oubre is kind of the next guy who's, blowout proof. He plays at the end of these games. He plays all the minutes, and he's obviously been pretty solid for us.
Yeah, he has. That's probably it. I'd prefer, obviously, if Paul George was out to get to Kelly Oubre, but he's going to play boatloads of minutes. We didn't mention Jamal Murray at point guard, but obviously, I would play Jamal Murray here. He has had an insane ceiling lately. 230 bombs, 145 actual fantasy point game, 59 and 60 fantasy points in those games as well.
Sure. Anybody else in the value range that you have interest in? Again, there's obviously a ton of Brooklyn plays down here. Our guy Christian Braun. Anything today for you?
Brown, it's still Brown. Yeah, I mean, he's been fine. Obviously, like Peyton Watson, questionable, helps Christian Brown's minutes be more secure. If there's no Peyton Watson, that would help Brown, that would help Porter, that would help a lot of guys be more secure because Peyton Watson is so good defensively. He can, and they have turned to him when there's like size on the other side. Like Peyton Watson would be on the floor a lot guarding Paul George. So I think Brown is solid.
Do we have to talk about the KCP ownership for today?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
second highest, currently the second highest or something like that, third highest rostered player on the slate in that range.
Yeah, it's super. Yeah, he's super popular. Now, like looking at things in my notes, like so he's not like all relevant when Cole Anthony is on the floor. When Cole Anthony, including all the other guys that are off the floor, he's a 1 fantasy point per minute player, which I found shocking. It's a small sample, but KCP doesn't necessarily profile as that to me ever anymore. But hey, 4K max minutes in a competitive game, really good, obvious game environment. Toronto's 28th in defensive rating this year, and this is a big pace spot for them. Toronto's 9th, Orlando's 30th. Yeah. Like there is a lot to like on the Orlando side tonight. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of gross, but if you're going to tell me he's going to play 35 minutes, there's all this sickness and injury around Orlando, then yeah, I'm going to have some mild interest in KCP. I'd say the same thing for Duncan if we get the news that Tyler Hero's out. I think Duncan Robinson, he's already been extended.
He randomly gets minutes again, like it's.
And it's hilarious. Jimmy comes back and they're back to that starting lineup, right? They go back to the Duncan Robinson starting lineup. It's like they just like that pairing. They like, because you can't have, like, you bring Jaquez off the bench with Jimmy. Jaquez is just irrelevant. No Jimmy, Jaquez is starting. Duncan's back to the bench. Like, it just is like a carousel of lineups. But hey, Duncan started in back-to-back games, and he's been pretty decent fantasy and minutes in back-to-back games. Obviously, watch the Eric Gordon stuff too. He started versus Indiana, didn't start versus Milwaukee. That's all dependent on who's in and who's out, but Eric Gordon at 3,800. I think Bruce Brown could be in line for some extra minutes if Chris Boucher were to be ruled out. Chris Boucher is currently listed questionable. They already ruled out quickly. They already ruled out Agbaji, and Agbaji was out last game, and Bruce Brown played 20 minutes. So, Rozier starts, Davion Mitchell starts. That doesn't correlate, though. Like, Davion's a 0. So, I do think Bruce Brown is halfway decent punt play, especially if Chris Boucher would be ruled
I agree
out.
with you. And I saw the tweet today. Bruce Brown, the Bovada betting odds leader to end up in Miami, is that a hint at like a Butler trade going to Toronto? And Brown and Peace?
No, Phoenix.
Phoenix.
It was a 3-way. Yeah, for sure. I almost don't think that's like the only path. Jimmy Butler to Phoenix is like the only
team that wants to go there right now. Yeah. Small forward, Scottie Barnes is $8,500. Again, it's a good price for Scottie Barnes. If you
elite,
given what his upside is, it just, you're looking at the slowest paced team in the league in a game with the lowest total of 5 on the board, right? But it is also the only game with a 1.5 point spread. So We talked liking RJ Barrett a bit more on the preview show. He's been also elite these last couple of games here. No Emmanuel quickly. I think I continue to rather just take the savings, but if you play enough value today, you could probably just play both Barnes and Barrett and play that game.
Yeah, I mean, there's also clear ownership discrepancy if you wanted to go the Barrett route, right? Scottie Barnes is over 20%, RJ Barrett barely over 10. It's interesting. No Agbaji. RJ Barrett has the lead in usage rate, 29.7%, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. Scottie Barnes has the fantasy point per minute lead, 1.36, 27.6% usage rate. So, pick your poison. Cheaper guy with higher usage rate or more expensive guy, slightly better eligibility, much better eligibility, higher fantasy point per minute output. So, what do you believe long-term sustainability?
I think we've seen them both obviously be productive. You like the fantasy point per minute output because Scottie Barnes generally is a guy that can give you 5 categories of production, And I think that's where that comes from. But Barrett, we've seen probably have the higher overall point scoring ceiling between the two, just from a pure shot attempts standpoint. So, but both are obviously elite. Hero sits. Do we go to the Butler?
So here's Jimmy's numbers this year. Without Hero.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not even this is not the Jimmy of old. 18.7% usage
not
rate.
Good.
Right? I can give you 4 other guys right now that have higher usage rates with Tyler Hero out. 1.14 fantasy points per minute.
That's good.
That's good. That's really good. But if Jimmy is standing in a corner, even with Tyler Hero out, that's a big problem.
Trying not to get hurt before the trade. Yeah.
Listen, Denver game, 33 minutes, 15 shots, solid. Obviously, nothing else. Very un-Jimmy Butler-like. But what are we getting? Himmy Butler? Are we getting Jim Butler? Are we getting Jimmy Butler?
We're getting James Butler here.
Are we getting James? Are we getting
in that game? Toumani Camara now questionable for tonight.
So they are potentially already have Klingon out, potentially without Simons, Murray, Toumani Camara, and Rob Williams as well. So they could be extremely shorthanded for at least their rotation, the pieces that they like.
We'll put Shaden Sharp right back in the starting lineup, probably.
Yeah. Welcome back. Shaden is a long absence.
And we'll put Denny at $6,800, who's coming off back-to-back 40 bombs in 3 of the last 4. Close to a lock play, right?
Yeah, he's been great. And if Simons is ruled out, Denny 1.2 fantasy points per minute this year. He is as close, like you said, as close to a lock as you can get. So, and that might make it easier for us, where we don't have to feel excruciating pain about possibly playing Jimmy Butler. If Toumani Camara gets ruled out, it's much easier. Our lives are much easier. We just play Denny Avdia and move
Agreed. On. Cam J here, 25 minutes in that last game. Obviously, the blowout, 27 minutes before that. Taking plenty of shots. Is not really giving you much of anything else, but the shot attempts are certainly there. They're going to need his offense tonight against the Knicks. I would still rather play Denny over him, but he's in that.
Yes.
He's in that range. You have your Nick plays there as well. Anything of note for you when it comes to your lineup builds in this range?
No. And I don't even necessarily love the Council $4,500 play. It is a play, obviously, just given where the value lies right now.
You'd have to play him at that price.
Well, the problem is it just depends on what your lineup construction looks
Sure.
like, because there's 3 games at 7:30. There's 2 games at 10 or later. Like there is a wide, like if Orlando rules their guys out, right? And Portland and Miami are shorthanded, I'm not saying you won't have late exposure, because obviously those are appealing games. But how many lineup spots are you going to have left?
Sure.
Because if Portland rolls out Kamara, Simons, Rob Williams, right? That is a really shorthanded team. Miami rules out Hero. There's a lot to like about Miami. It's just a totally different slate. And then you're talking like Paul George getting potentially ruled out, or ruled. We don't know what Paul George's status is going to be like. It's a tough, like, it's a good pivot that you'll probably get lower owned, because the only thing that's really rostered right now is Denver and the Lakers. Well, I guess Washington earlier in their day was getting some like decent ownership. They're still getting like all like relatively decent ownership, and there's still like pivotability, but man, 4,500 for Council is definitely a little worrisome compared to what it was.
To Power's comments here, we kind of skimmed by Trevelyan Queen. Is he shooting guard only?
The minutes have been good. No, he's point guard, shooting guard. The minutes have been really solid for sure.
Shot attempts double digits in 3 straight games. I mean, if all of those guys end up being ruled out, you're probably not wrong as a dart throw play tonight in a good matchup. We saw him play, heavy minutes for a little stretch there, and he gave you 10x. He could be potentially in that like 7 to 8x return tonight. That's only like 30 fantasy points.
So their starting lineup would be Paolo, if those guys are ruled out, like Paolo, Black, Carter, Da Silva, KCP, right? That's their starting 5. And then Queen, Caleb Houston. Who is your backup center? They don't have one. Is Paolo your backup center? I mean, Corey Joseph is in the rotation, right? That's 8.
I mean, it's not
Gary
like
Harris.
Toronto if they don't have Pirtle. I mean, they'll go. I mean, Kelly O will play, but like they'll.
Pirtle.
No, I mean, they don't have Boucher or whatever like that. Rather, if they don't have Boucher. They'll. Kelly O is obviously like a 6'10", but he's a stretch. He's a small ball center. They could match that 5 up there.
I'm just thinking like
we know Orlando Robinson's not big. He's a small guy.
If Isaac doesn't play, they don't have a backup big. They don't have a backup big.
So I don't think that's a bad shout, Power. I think Trevelyan Queen, certainly if those guys get ruled out, will get his 25 minutes anyways, and then maybe more if they play small in that situation. What do we think of Jaquez? Would he be a benefactor of no Hero?
No. It's hard to get there at 51. I think Jaquez maybe. I think he's more so a Jimmy contingent, but I don't.
To Anthony's question, so Westbrook is one of the higher rostered players on today's slate, the 3rd highest rostered player actually for today. You can always play Joker and Russ if you want. Obviously, the Russ minutes last couple of games haven't been great, but they've been in blowouts. So there's that situation. They've also been healthier. So there's more guys to put into that rotation that's potentially taking away for minutes. Because remember, Westbrook did not start the year in the starting lineup. He was off the bench. It was Brown. It was Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, like that whole crew. I know Gordon being limited, but still, that's that situation with Russ. He can always play Joker. Just if it blows out, he plays 28 minutes, 30 minutes. He may not pay off $12K. And then we like both. We think we're preferring Barrett for a little bit cheaper, but you can play both guys there. So tournaments, Barrett as well, far less ownership to catch you up there, Anthony. I guess given shorter rotations, where does Tristan Da Silva fit for you at $4,300?
In our minds,
is he in your player pool?
If people are out, if more,
he has if no Cole Anthony, right? There's just a lot of usage that could be available here, and Paolo probably could absorb a lot of that. But Would you give looks at anybody else here at small forward?
Anyone else at small forward? Julian Strawther in tournaments, he just continues to play like all the minutes. We'll see if Peyton Watson sits. There's obviously like Strawther is him and Gordon are like your two primary off the bench players.
And the benefit that there's a blowout.
And he benefits of the blowout. So like you have, if Watson sits, Strawther plays those, probably picks up a lot of those minutes and will play in all blowout scenarios. I mean, look at, he has played less than 20 minutes like once in the last like month. So I think Strawther is fine. I don't love the ownership on Strawther. I think some of the ownerships are a little bit interesting, and I think this just goes to show you not a lot of people understand like what's going on because there's still so much news to break. But like Max Christie is getting a lot of ownership today. Max Christie played 23 minutes with Dorian Finney-Smith back and was in a closing lineup. I think maybe because his brother was playing for the Clippers in the closing lineup, but we'll see. Keyshawn George is getting a lot of ownership. He has fluctuated between like 18 and 30 minutes. We've done this before. We know
Phoenix game.
It's not
knocked down 6 threes.
Yeah. We've seen that. He does have a high ceiling when he gets going, but he has gotten going like very few and far between.
28% from three, but he is shooting 47% over his last 10 games thanks to these recent performances, right?
And the minutes have been up. So like I'm good with it. I think it's like fine. I would prefer to play him over like Max Christie at their respective ownerships. But that's it. Just wanted to point out that they're getting like more ownership than I ever would have expected. Karl-Anthony Towns, John, has been downgraded to questionable. I don't see. Wait, hold on.
I didn't see that come through on my end, but maybe it's coming.
I don't see it on even like our beat reporter page. I don't see the Towns news.
I guess we'll wait to see.
Yeah, I don't see it.
But I don't see it yet either. I see that Kevin Love has been upgraded to available. For whatever that
apparently, and I don't know this because I don't like use Instagram or anything. But apparently Kevin Love's Instagram during this whole Jimmy Butler saga has been like the best thing ever.
Well, what's he doing?
He's just trolling Jimmy Butler the whole time. In like a friendly, I'm the old wily veteran way. But yeah, I don't see anything Towns related currently.
Quick search, see if anything that pops up. If we do get the Towns news, we will obviously confirm that, but I'm not seeing it, Ricky. So let me know where you're seeing it. Then we can maybe try to verify. Power forward. LeBron is up there among your top owned plays of the night. He's $9,800. $8,600 for Banchero. As we talked about, in a great spot. Could have no Cole Anthony. Maybe he sees his minutes rise. Back-to-back games at 29 in blowouts. If this is a competitive 1-point game, do we get 33, 34 minutes out of Banchero tonight? Because I think we'd like some of that.
We sure would. And the cat tag is because he is listed as probable. Despite being probable to play, they still list them as questionable. I do think that is partly DraftKings, like a little, maybe like a system flaw, but
they don't have a probable tag. I fall for it sometimes too.
Yeah, he's on the injury report, but he's probable. On the Paolo front, I do think that he is live to cross 30 minutes. The price has come down, obviously under 9K. Dude, there is some big Paolo, obviously, and that's with Cole. I mean, 37.5% usage rate, 1.3 fantasy points a minute. And that's with Cole Anthony on the floor. 37.5% usage rate. This is an elite spot. He just has not made shots. Simply has not made shots. They've gotten blown out. The one game that they were like super competitive in, and he made a lot of shots. First game back, he went for 34 actual points. Like that is the Paolo ceiling in this spot. Big pace up spot, 28th ranked defense on the other side. I'm in on Paolo. I'm in with or without Cole Anthony. I think that this is one of the spots I want to be ahead of before, like, oh, Paolo played 34 minutes tonight and I missed the boat.
And you're getting him for 10% less than people are paying for LeBron James tonight.
Correct.
In a game that he may only see limited playing time, because if they go out and blow out Washington, in that game, that LeBron could be limited. They're 13.5-point home favorites. I know we don't like to talk blowouts often, but if you can get a 15% Banchero playing in a better spot than a 25% LeBron James, then you're winning that matchup there.
And if you remember, we talked about this the last time Orlando played. The comments from Banchero himself were like, yeah, I could, if I feel good, I can play more. But they keep getting blown out.
D'Angelo Russell officially available to play tonight. Let's get in that news through. Again, we were expecting that one. Where are you with, Josh Hart? Obviously, we liked Denny Avdia. Would you play Kyle Kuzma? What do you think about the mid-range?
Yeah, Hart is definitely in play. I don't know if the neck has necessarily impacted him, from where he was. It was a weird game for the Knicks in general because nobody had 10 rebounds. Not Towns, not Hart. It was just OG had 9. It was just a weird
Still
game.
played 37 minutes,
Still played 37. He also quote tweeted underdog today. I don't know if you saw that. He quote tweeted the probable tag and said, "Excuse me?" ? Which I think is hilarious. He is such a good troll. I'm good. We're always good. We're Josh Hart.
Anthony, Josh Hart just plays minutes. As does most of New York, but he especially plays all of the minutes.
Hart, Danny, we talked about. I don't have any really strong conviction on this tier, other than Denny. Kuzma's fine in tournaments if you think that game can stay close.
Agreed. CK, maybe you just missed that combo. We like Paolo. You can play LeBron. He's getting all the ownership love. It's obviously Washington. He can go and dominate that. I think we're more likely to see AD, given the way centers have tormented Washington lately, to have the monster night. We think there's some tournament leverage tonight with Paolo Banchero. So I'm going the Paolo route, but again, the ownership, and it's nothing against LeBron. I don't think he's going to have a bad day by any stretch.
No, they just beat Brooklyn by 1 the other day, by the way. It's not like the Lakers are not, the names don't exactly, we've talked about this a lot lately. Names don't always mean they have LeBron and AD. They're the best team in the world,
Yeah, Reeves playing out of his mind, doesn't matter. They go, they almost lose. So again, definitely like Denny. You have Sar, MPJ, Clowney, Jovic, 49. What are we doing? What are we doing?
My eyebrow is up. If Hero sits. Jovic, nice. About almost a 4% higher usage without Tyler Hero this year. Well over a fantasy point per minute. And we've talked about this. Jimmy came back 31, 24 minutes. I wish those were closer together. But the minutes are not really going anywhere. And the price is going down. Yeah. So if there's no Tyler Hero, he is definitely in play. Hey, man, the whole field is playing Khalil Ware, right? Everyone's clicking Khalil Ware. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
We clicked Khalil Ware last night on the show.
Khalil Ware. We sure did. But also, the 34 minutes were, he started the second half over Highsmith. And I'm not saying that can't happen again. Hell, he might start the first half. He might just start the game.
That starting line that comes out at 7:00 again. Roster locks at 7:30 tonight, guys. So 7 p.m. we're gonna get Portland, Miami, and we'll know who's starting and who isn't starting. And if it's Ware, that ownership's already at 40%. It may go higher.
I do think there's something to be said in tournaments about if Hero sits, leveraging the field on Jovic, because. And I've talked to you about this a lot. Players like Jovic, Najee Marshall, these big wings that when a guard is off the floor, they handle because they have a good handle. And Nikola Jovic, literally, if you watch that Heat team, runs second units, right? Like he literally run the second unit. So I think there is something to be said. Like if there's no hero, they could, and Jimmy's still just like pouting in the corner, standing in the corner, like, hey, you guys are acting like I'm the third option. That's what I'll be, even if Tyler Hero's not here. Well, this is the guy who everything can run through. Like this is the guy who can handle the ball. I do think there's something to be said about tournaments. You can just play them both. But if there's like a way you want to leverage the field, it would obviously be Jovic.
Yeah, I don't think it's a mistake. You see him start playing more minutes since that 34-minute game. Assist numbers 4, 5, 5, 3, 8, 4, 5. Right? Like assist totals, right? Right in your face, when he starts playing more minutes. Definitely a good passer. You mentioned the rebounding. Then we know he can score, stretch the floor. Yeah, he's been a guy we've been on for a while now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say first, but we were playing Nikola Jokic, way before everybody else was here as well. Josh wants to know if you had to pick one Blazer, Denny, or Scoot. If no Kamara, if there's no Kamara and no Simons, I think you just play both.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I mean, we've seen 50 plus out of Scoot in 2 of the last 3. We've seen 40 plus out of Denny in 3 of the last 4. And they're both under $7,000. I don't think either are a bad play. I think it depends on where your roster builds go. If you feel like you have a better build with guards and you can go fit Denny, or if you like your forwards, go play Scoot. Obviously, if both get ruled out, we'd expect that starting lineup to be like Scoot, Sharp, Denny, Grant, and Ayton. So, tough to pick one. I think they're both pretty elite. Denny would be the play if Simons is in though. I think that's what we kind of settled in on.
Yeah.
Then is Justin Edwards a sneaky blowout play? If Paul George is out, maybe he's going to get mid-20s minutes anyways. He hit his shots that first game, broke, almost won. Our guy Carlucci on the playbook tonight, almost helped him take down the 100K, for a stretch there. But then you saw what Edwards did after that. It was chalk and did nothing for 3 quarters. So,
yeah.
Some risk there. Again, I would rather play Ricky Council. If we're picking 76ers, he's been good. He gives you steals. He's scored. He's rebounded. I'd rather play 4,500 for him if George is out. If you're forcing me to go that route.
Yep.
Anybody else for you at power forward?
Let's see. What do we got? I mean, the Clue Ware stuff. Obviously, he's mega chalk. So we'll see what they do with their starting lineup. Dorian Finney-Smith getting a lot of ownership tonight. Yeah. That's something that goes away if we start getting. I guarantee that would go away if we get like a bunch of news to break. Like if we get Cole Anthony, John Isaac, Tyler Hero out, that ownership goes away. Look, Zavon, Anthony Davis was upgraded to probable, so I'd have a hard time believing it would go the other way. Obviously, it can. But I would assume they'd play. If both of them get ruled out, then you could play like anything Lakers related. But Austin Reeves is also on the injury report. Yeah. Austin Reeves is also questionable. So we'd have to. Oh no, he's removed from the injury report. Sorry, my pardon me.
So Aaron Gordon's back, obviously, but he's been on a strict minutes restriction there, Jay. So while the price tag is pretty elite for what we usually know him for. Very difficult to get to him knowing he's playing 22, 23 minutes. So kind of where I'm at with the Aaron Gordon situation. Knowing Anthony, would you play Blanton? Probably. If there's no Simons, no Kamara, and they have to put Sharp in the starting lineup?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, so last game when you looked at it, he played the strict backup to Scoot. Mm-hmm. And Simons wasn't there. Kamara was, to be fair.
Yeah.
And he played 10 minutes. He played just backup point guard.
Yeah. If Simons, because we kind of saw this sort of with Banton before, right? Like there was no Grant and they were without Denny, right? So they had the 3 guys in the lineup, Scoot, and all them, and Banton was playing the backup guards, right? So if there's no Simons, no Kamara tonight, you'd probably assume he'd get a little extra on. 0-point floor though, Josh, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a very good chance that he only plays the 10 minutes, but they are out a handful of other wings, so there's certainly a chance that
potentially.
he potentially get there. So just know what you're doing. Like, we talk about this in our Discord all the time. You can play these 3K players, but then don't come to us afterwards and be like, man, like, I jammed in 4 10-play guys and, and Blandon got me 6 fantasy points. It's like, well, you didn't have to go there. You
like John said, you have to have, like, there has to be a lot to go right to get the Banton, I think. Like, you have to have Simons, you have to have Kamara out. Both.
Yeah, they could play Scoot 40 minutes tonight and, like, not have to play Banton 20 minutes. So
and you could, given like Denny Grant still exists, and given like Sharp still exists, you could fluctuate Shaden Sharp throughout. Like, Sharp might play 40 minutes. We've seen Shaden Sharp play 40 minutes.
Yeah, they got Ruper out on their team right now. Like, they can go do a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
So just super risky, but sure. Like, yep, tournament play. We've seen a lot of Banton play 10 minutes and score 23 fantasy points. So you can certainly go there. Oh, he was talking about Eric Gordon, not Aaron Gordon. Yeah, so we said if Eric Gordon is starting, we'd have some interest.
I would say if all those guys are out again, probably. He played 30 off the bench last game, for what that's worth.
Okay.
So whatever, everyone needs to be out. Everyone needs to be out.
And then Bron or Ricky who?
Council.
If no George, I probably still play Council. Because he's gonna get the end of he'll get the blowout run too. Like, Bron's not gonna play that.
Yeah.
Like, probably. Early minutes, they're gonna get the same amount of early minutes, and then one guy has a good chance of playing longer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Imperfect situation. Center gets a Jokic at $12K, AD at 10.3, and Towns at $9,700. Feels like we go through this all the time. You can play any of them. Jokic obviously has 80 fantasy point upside. He hasn't hit that in a few slates because they've been in blowouts, and he's only played 30, 29, and 31 minutes. He triple-doubled in all 3 of those games, though. And if he got another 6 to 8 minutes like he normally does, there's a good chance he's looking at 70 to 80 fantasy points. So just know what you would be missing out if this game was to somehow stay competitive and you don't play Joker. That said, it is a double-digit point spread. Denver's at home. If you think he plays 30 and only gives you 68, maybe that entices you more to spend down and save some money, because you can get that same 60-plus out of AD and that same 60-plus out of Karl Anthony Towns for cheaper. So,
and that's what the field's doing.
You here, James?
That's what the field's doing with AD, because AD is really popular. And
Washington again. Washington is just getting absolutely just smashed by Suns.
I mean, like, obviously it's a nice salary relief to play Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Because if everybody is ruled in from here to the end of the night, there's no value. There's no good, like, this is the best. Khalil Ware is 4,100. Everyone's playing him, and just under the assumption, based on last second half, that he starts again, right?
People are playing Contavious Caldwell-Pope tonight because there's nobody else for value. So.
It's Julian Strother, the 7th man on Denver, is getting over 20%. Like, it's like, so obviously, great spot against Washington, plus great player, plus, great saving. So I get it. But my stance. Like, if Philly can keep that game competitive, Nikola Jokic is the best play on the board as long as he's not 13K. And that hasn't not been true in competitive games. Every competitive game, other than like the one Dallas game that was like on the afternoon slate that we didn't even have to worry about.
Yeah,
he's given you ceiling performances. So
he still triple-doubled in 29 minutes.
Yeah, and like, he still gave you 68. It's not like this. That was still 7x return. It was still more than fine. You obviously want the 80. If he comes back in, you get 80 out of that game. So you just have to That is I think Jokic, a lot of the people that are probably playing Jokic are ready to have a lot of late exposure. And a lot because, I think you'd have to assume you're playing Jokic because you think that game can stay competitive enough.
I would agree with you. So again, you can play all of them. Obviously, Towns not the greatest performance. Was that thumb related? Does that concern you tonight? Nick Claxton going up there. He's obviously dominated most teams he's played this year, but he's coming off of an injury and didn't have a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been many reasons. They switched up. Onyeka Okongwu entered the starting lineup for Atlanta yesterday.
Shot 1 of 6 from 3 and 5 of 18 from the floor.
And only got to the foul and barely got to the foul line somewhere that he usually gets to. I mean, there's not it doesn't seem like you're wrong on that.
Do we know what thumb it is?
I believe it's the non-shooting.
Okay.
But I also I want to say it's non-shooting hand.
Okay. Guess we should probably take a look.
No, it's shooting hand. It is shooting hand.
Well, that's not great.
It's shooting hand.
Bone chip in the thumb, pain tolerance, and he goes out there first night and can't shoot.
To play devil's advocate, I don't disagree, but I do like the 18 shots. He must have been feeling good enough to get up 18 shots.
Yeah, well, I think he is yes, for sure. He is definitely a volume shooter. The offense runs through him for a lot of this, so they gave him those opportunities. Just didn't hit the shots. We'll see what happens tonight, obviously. But if he has another bad shooting game, you think you really got to start wondering if how that thumb, because you said yourself the report was a pain tolerance situation. So we'll see what happens there.
I think it is. I think it is just one more quick note on that. I think it is a good sign if it the pain tolerance thing that he's listed probable the day after, on a back-to-back. I do think that's a good sign for Towns because if he was the day after, how this we've seen this happen all the time. Player gets hurt in game or something, returns to game, finishes game, wakes up next day. Oh crap, I'm actually hurt. Right?
Yeah.
Just happened to SGA last week. Hurts his wrist. Seen wearing a wrap. No, I'm good. Actually, next day you're not good. I'm hurt. I'm not playing. And then I think it happened to Brunson 2 weeks ago, right? Brunson, whatever. So I think it's a positive sign that the next day after his first game back, he is listed probable. So he's expecting to play. He's expecting to play.
A little context on the Tyler Hero. Hero woke up this morning, felt some groin tightness, which is why he was added to the injury report. So doesn't seem like he suffered a groin injury the last time they played. But I don't know. Maybe he was, kicking in his sleep or something like that. Having a bad dream. I don't know. Kicking Jimmy Butler out of the locker room, in his sleep.
Yeah. I mean, DeAndre Ayton woke up and couldn't get to the arena, and Tyler Hero woke up and tried to karate kick Jimmy Butler while sleeping. So,
Spoelstra on Haywood Highsmith. We all believe in him. We all know his importance. And as we figure things out, his minutes will become more consistent. Sounds like
we're getting the Haywood Highsmith back to starting lineup.
Yep. Or just they're not sure where they're going to play him. Boucher officially out, by the way. Getting that news as well. I don't know. I say as we figure things out, his minutes will likely be more consistent. Makes me think he's out maybe of the rotation or out of consistency while they work their things around. So we'll see what happens there. But no Boucher. So we are at center. Do you give Kelly O any extra thoughts or, is a value played tonight?
I don't think so because he's just been playing the backup 5. So I still think Pirtle being there matters more than Boucher not being there. Yeah. We saw Mobo play first quarter minutes the other day.
Yeah.
I'd assume Mobo would be the immediate pivot there. And if Orlando's small, right, which which you assume they're going to be if Isaac is. Isaac is 6'10", like
he's a small
skinny,
forward playing
so
the five. So basically,
which he's. He is too. Like they're using. They have to. They might not just do they could play more Bruce Brown, like I alluded to earlier. So I do think like I don't think that helps Kelly O. I liked Pirtle to begin with. I thought Pirtle was an excellent play before the Boucher news even hit. With just quickly Agbaji out, 1.25 fantasy points per minute for Jakob Pirtle, 20% usage rate this year. The 1.25 fantasy points per minute, more than RJ Barrett, only trailing Scottie Barnes. The minutes haven't really gone away. The production really hasn't gone away from Jakob Pirtle. I'm in on Jakob Pirtle tonight. Wendell Carter's getting cooked. As many minutes as he's played because he's been forced to play, and I'm not saying he's been bad. He's been good in his minutes. Yeah. He's been getting cooked that's like the Goga effect. Like not having Goga Batadze anchor your defense has obviously been.
Well, we were wondering what happened with Wendell Carter because we've seen years past he was a super productive high minutes guy for them, and then this year like he just flat out lost his job to Goga Batadze, and now they are sort of forced him to playing him more. He's obviously been really good from a fantasy perspective. The 4 stocks against Denver in that game, the double-double, Boston, Milwaukee, good performances there. Count on him playing 33, 34 minutes tonight, competitive game against Pirtle. He could probably have some good games there. Pirtle's not like a great defensive player, so he blocks some shots, but that's kind of it for that.
I think they're both. I wish there was leverage on the Pirtle stuff, but there's not. Because they're like the same ownership. But this is the leverage right here. That guy you were flashing, if Rob Will sits too, they have no centers.
Jabari Walker, backup 5.
Jabari Walker, Duop Reith season, right? As your backups. It's a tough spot against Bam.
I was gonna say, if there's no hero, would you play Bam?
Probably, yeah.
His price keeps coming down, but he has not been the guy we've expected this year. So,
no hero this year. 24% usage, 1.26 fantasy points per minute for Bam. That's elite. 1.26, 24% usage from your center position. That's really good.
Yeah, so you got to get the Apple Watch and then have like score app notifications sent to your Apple Watch. Then you're good to go. You won't have to check the lines. You just get stat updates. All right, Pirtle, we talked about Wendell Carter. We're good on. Anybody else that you would play at center tonight? Do you give Adam Bona consideration?
Well, we don't know who's we don't know. Yabusele and Drummond are both questionable, so I can't comment on that. Khalil Ware, we talked about. I don't think there's like anything else we even really need to discuss. Jonas is getting ownership. Anthony Davis kind of been getting cooked low key lately. And obviously we know Jonas has.
15 minutes against Phoenix, he had 25 fantasy points. He doesn't need time to do. And then 23 minutes against Sacramento. That's like obviously that's like that's. But it's a range of outcome for him.
Range of outcome,
right? It's a range of outcome. I texted you afterwards. I played Alexander Sarr on this day. I came in 54th, I think it was, in the single entry contest we were in. If I had played Valanciunas over Sarr, I win by 10 points. I win the whole tournament because how many fantasy points he scored in that game. So,
but you're right. Like it is just a range of outcome for Joe Val. Like whether you think it's going to happen or not. Like it can.
Is Bam and Andrew Wilson? Is that what he's?
That is. They refuse to acknowledge it. But it is
good get on him then. All right.
The best
MVP
player
of the NBA,
the planet. Yeah.
Good on Bam. All right. Let's build. Let's build some. I think we liked Paolo. See, where are we going to get our leverage? We liked Paolo. Where else are we looking to go here?
I mean, there's so many.
I know. We're still here's the problem with us doing our and no, we didn't change our time, but we do our show at 5. Usually at 5 to 6. Roster lock at 7. Roster lock at 7:30. We're getting even less news than we usually get. As usual.
Khalil Ware. I mean, I personally think the Haywood Highsmith comment implies that he's going to play more, or that there's just going to be a specific number of minutes that he's going to play nightly. Like instead of being like 38 and 7, because he has been everywhere.
I mean, he's played 8 and 13 minutes the last 2 games, and they're saying, well, when we figure it out, he'll start to get more consistent. So have they not?
Well, that's Jimmy, but well, that's because they're like, when we
they haven't figured it out yet, and Highsmith is getting nice, man.
What a way to mention, like, when we trade Jimmy Butler and receive assets for him, I'll let you know what he's going to play.
What do we do with our lineups? This is a tough day. We had a comment earlier. Candler and Corey. Corey seems like a low scoring slate. And he thinks it's more of a stars and scrubs than an even build. Yeah, I mean, fair balance on a low-scoring slate generally gets you, in the money. If you want to cash, you definitely need to have the stars and scrub probably line up for like the takedowns, get those ceiling plays. Do we go like Anthony Davis here over Jokic, given sort of the matchup?
Yeah, we can.
$5,200. We still need we need to commit to a value play somewhere. I mean, like Anthony Black is playing minutes anyways. Do we just play him and then we know he gets more minutes or more playing time if there's no Anthony?
Yeah, I mean the minutes are fine. I think it's kind of TBD if it's competitive. Like he didn't play a lot in that.
Yeah, this is more so if
he played a lot in one of the competitive
if there's no
games.
Cole Anthony, it's just a better spot for him.
Yeah, for sure.
That ceiling puts us like $5,500 a player here. So like
D'Angelo Russell.
Ownership is we're not playing Khalil Ware. I have Jovic in. Would you play them both?
I probably wouldn't play both if neither are starting. I would only play them both if one's starting and one isn't. I'd have a hard time. We do this with disposal rotations all the time, right? It's like it's already a pulling teeth to like play any of them.
Carlton's 42.
KCP is a value that we know is going to play regardless of the minutes.
Anthony Simon's available to play. Rob Williams available to play.
It's less than ideal for the value.
But we should be getting Toumani Camara then here in a second, right?
Unless they're going to push it to game time with Toumani Camara.
Still question.
If we have anything else out. Still TBD, yeah. Starters, so he just announced the starting lineup. If Camara plays, John, and Scoot Henderson is not in it.
No Scoot, no Sharp in the starting lineup. If Camara plays.
They're going back Ant Simons, Toumani Camara, Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton. So one that's incredibly interesting that they're going to go away from Scoot.
It's good news for Simons.
It's great news for Simons because he's been the one guy that's obviously can't play with Scoot Henderson. Like he has been unable to be unlocked with Scoot on the floor.
I don't really know what.
Wow, that is interesting, dude.
Such a weird lineup build.
Are you staying on Denny?
I think so.
I'm not against it. I'm just if they're fully healthy, I'm not. I don't.
I mean, if you take him out, small forward is so bad. Like,
Coach Chris, they just announced that if Toumani Camara plays, Scoot Henderson's going to the bench. So if Camara is out and Scoot's starting, then he's fine. But if he's coming off the bench, you can't. It's really hard to play him at 6,900. John and I were like talking about the rotation, and yeah, it's just impossible. Like straight cash homie, shout out Randy Moss just said, it's impossible to play him at 69 off the bench. So you need Kamara out to play Scoot, I think.
I would agree with you. 100%.
You can play D'Lo at shooting guard.
So we did Black, Russell,
KCP, Rozier. I mean, the Rozier, you're not playing Rozier.
Did you play? Well, I guess you don't play like Brooklyn plays, right? And Brown's is like consistent.
Brown's been fine. Yeah, I think Brown's fine as the last piece in. You just won't be able to pivot, obviously.
Carrington, Christie, Rozier, Martin. It feels like Hero's gonna like play.
Well, if he just woke up with just like a little tweak,
because I don't know what else to do at small forward if we're not playing Denny. Like, there's no. You would almost at that point you would hope Paul George gets rolled out just so you can play Council, or we get off.
Well, you can't even play Council there.
Well, you get rid of Denny, you play Council at small forward, and then that would give you more money for a guard.
Yeah, but if Paul George plays,
then you're
not playing Council.
I don't want to play that many Magic, but I guess you do.
I mean, you could play Christian Brown over Denny at small forward, and it opens up a lot.
We did a $7,500 guard. Jordan Poole.
Towns and Hart are officially game time decisions per Tibbs, but they're gonna go through.
I guess if Cole Anthony sat, this wouldn't be the worst Orlando exposure.
And potentially John Isaac too. David, I respect it. You are talking to the wrong person when it comes to revenge narratives. I just don't care about revenge narratives. I think there's little to no data backing it up. We have revenge narratives every night that we don't talk about that don't pan out, do pan out.
All right, well, until we know the injury news at 7:30, which we should be getting, it's around 7:00. I guess this is kind of where we're sitting. It's tough out there, folks. Black, Russell, Silva, Banchero, Davis, Poole, Jovic, and Ware. Chauncey Billups has some comments on Khalil Ware, says he gives them something that they haven't had in their rotation. Chauncey always speaking positively about the opponents there.
He is a very nice guy.
And we like Jovic as a pivot play. So I guess this is where we're at. You can go a bit more fair and balanced. You can go down to Pirtle if you wanted to instead of AD, and maybe that helps you get off the Silva. Would you rather AD to Silva or like Pirtle and Denny? I guess probably would be the break thing.
AD to Silva, Pirtle, Denny. I would rather AD.
And hope that De Silva hits a shot tonight. I guess we're not even playing Barrett. I don't even know what to do. I like Barrett a lot. Not even in the lineup. I wouldn't know where to go. Don't know how to get him in.
There's nowhere to go.
Right.
There's nowhere to go.
We're building.
We need the injury news. We need the news.
All right. So again, example lineup. Carlucci's got the playbook. Roster lock at 7:30. Get in the Discord. We got the 7-day free trial going on. FANation.com/win. See you all in the Discord. Says Justin. Exactly. Justin's in there. Black, Russell, De Silva, Banchero, Davis, Poole, Jovic, and Ware as an example lineup for tonight, everybody. 5 games. It's a tough one. Good luck with your lineup builds. Get in that Discord. We'll catch you later.